Minister, I welcome you to the House for this important debate. As Senator Bacik has said, last month in the aftermath of the revelations regarding RTE's settlement with John Waters and Breda O'Brien and members of the Iona Institute, I called for the Minister to come before the House to discuss this issue, and I did so for a number of reasons. Firstly, I was horrified by the way that Rory O'Neill's interview had been censored. Secondly, I was outraged that licence fee money had been paid over with such haste and in circumstances where many barristers had argued convincingly that RTE could have successfully defended any threatened legal action. And thirdly, I was deeply concerned about the precedent that RTE's response could set for future public debate, not just on issues around equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual or transgender people, but also on a whole wide range of issues of public importance. And I felt very strongly that it was incumbent on you, Minister, to make sure that this decision does not set a dangerous precedent for public speech in this country. Freedom of speech is absolutely essential to democracy. It's one of the key things that distinguishes us between oppressive states like Russia. And as a Democrat, I defend the rights of others to freely express their views on every issue, even if I find their comments offensive. Because I think that public debate should always be open and robust. I think people should hear all views and then be free to make up their own minds as to who they agree with. I have no doubt that the two individuals that were named on the Saturday night show were offended by the comments that were made about them. But both of these individuals are high-profile journalists who frequently write things that others find offensive. They jealously guard their own freedom of speech, and rightly so. Yet as soon as somebody criticised them and pointed out the impact that their comments and their influence and the power that they have in public debate has had on other people, they issue legal threats against the individual concerned and the state broadcaster. In my view, it was particularly inappropriate for journalists to take such a course of action. They were offered a right of reply by RTE and could have taken up the opportunity either to speak on the Saturday night show the following week or indeed to use their own newspaper columns to outline their views. Instead, they opted for censorship and ensured that RTE paid €85,000 worth of licence fee money from each and every person in this country to themselves and to people associated with their own institute. In agreeing to settle, RTE, in my view, betrayed its responsibility as a public service broadcaster to ensure that both sides of the debate are heard on issues of public importance. As I said earlier, several barristers have argued convincingly that RTE could have won any threatened legal action on the grounds of the honest opinion defence to defamation. The defence which is set out in the 2009 Act and which applies to statements of opinion referring to matters of public interest where the defendant can prove that the opinion was honestly held and where facts on the opinion on which the opinion is based are stated or otherwise widely known and the facts on which they are based are true and true or covered by privilege. Once these criteria are met, the opinion can be expressed in very unpleasant terms. It's an opinion. And I strongly feel it was clear from the show that it was Rory O'Neill's honest opinion that the individuals he referred to on the Saturday night show were homophobic. Now, you or I, Minister, might disagree with that, other people in this room might disagree with that, but it was his honest opinion, and our laws defend the right of people to put forward their honest opinions. He made it clear in the show that the definition of the word homophobic that he was using included not just irrational fear and hatred of gay people, but also discrimination and prejudice based on sexual orientation. And while people might argue that the word phobia conjures up impressions of extreme behaviour, as has already been pointed out, the actual definition that is increasingly accepted covers a whole spectrum of behaviour, again as pointed out by Rory O'Neill on the show, from the subtle to the extreme. But even taking the most restrictive interpretation of the word, I don't see how anyone could argue that the following comment given by John Waters in a newspaper interview is not homophobic. Mr. Waters said, and I quote, "This is really a kind of satire on marriage, which is being conducted by the gay lobby. It is not that they want to get married, they want to destroy the institution of marriage because they're envious of it." Minister, how anybody could argue that that view is not based on irrational fear is beyond me. And I think it was right that it was called out as such. I think that everybody has a responsibility in public debate to conduct themselves in a responsible way. But that can't mean that people are prohibited from giving their honest opinions on the hurt that they feel about arguments that other people have made in the public debate. So It is my view that the RT's response was inappropriate. But that said, I think it's time to move on from arguing over the meaning of the word homophobia and focus instead on the discrimination that LGBT people still face in this country. And, Minister, despite all the progress that has been made over the last few years, many lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people still face intimidation and discrimination on a daily basis. Homophobic bullying is rife in our schools. We still have laws in our books, as was mentioned earlier, that allow teachers and doctors to be fired just because they're gay, no matter how great a job they're doing. And loving couples are still denied one of the most basic and important rights of all, the right to marry. I think it's important that we have a free discussion about these issues, that we're free to challenge these issues, that we're free to point out the hurt that they cause. But I also accept that the country is engaged in a journey in terms of improvement and in terms of reaching full equality. I hope that embracing full marriage equality will be the completion of that journey. Personally, and I know Senator Batchel has made the same point, I don't believe that everybody who opposes marriage equality is homophobic. I've never said that, and I don't believe that. I think there are a lot of Irish people who just haven't engaged with the issue. Maybe they don't know lesbian and gay couples that are affected by it, that live on their street, that are in their families, so they don't understand the impact that it has. But I have seen firsthand at the Constitutional Convention how when people actually listen to those arguments, when they actually see the face of discrimination, when they listen to the personal stories, how it does change their opinions. So I think we're engaged in a journey of education and persuasion. And I think we need to listen to the very real concerns that people have, their fears, why they don't support equality, and we need to persuade them. And I think that should be the focus of the debate, is actually discussing issues.